All right, let's talk about feelings, because that's that's what we do on this channel now. Um, I've learned something that is just so cool, and this is just my personal experience in dealing with, well, with relationships. In this case, for me, it was how I was relating to my wife, and this has been so valuable, and you may find this really helpful, as I did. So, this is about resentment. And, well, I just didn't know what resentment really was. To me, my lived experience of feeling resentment was that it was just my natural and appropriate response to somebody like wronging me and me having this bad feeling about it. That was resentment, like, why did you do that? Or why did you not do that? Or whatever. And me feeling justified in that negative emotion, like it was their fault, they did something, and now it made me feel bad. Well, it turns out I didn't know what resentment was. And now I see it a little differently. And I'm not necessarily saying that I now know everything about resentment, but the way I see it now is that when I feel resentment, when I feel resentful towards someone, now I see that as a symptom of how I was framing my relationship to them. That's a bad way of putting it. How do I put this? It's my emotions saying that I was setting a standard for them that they didn't know about, and that then they didn't live up to, and I was mad about it. I need to keep explaining this because I know I'm not quite there yet. It's like I had made a rule book for somebody else, and they broke my rules for them, but they didn't even know the rules. So it's actually on me. If I feel resentment towards someone, it's actually my fault, because I was implicitly expecting them to read my mind and do something for me when I needed them to do it without me ever telling them. And that's just a wild and unrealistic thing to expect from someone in a relationship. And I'll give some examples here. And I'll make them general. They aren't necessarily specific to me, but inspired by my own experience. If I was, say, making my wife breakfast, and then if she didn't reciprocate in kind, I would then be kind of hurt, like, oh, why aren't you making me breakfast? Like, why don't I deserve it? And I would feel that resentment, because in the end I was giving her something with strings attached. I was giving in order to try and receive something, which meant that I was needy. It meant that I was feeling needy, and so I did this exchange. I offered up my proposition and then was waiting there to receive the thing that I needed. And if I didn't get the thing that I needed, then I felt resentment. I'm smiling because it's so silly now in retrospect. Like, it's so obvious, and it's so, well, it's fun now to know this perspective, because now when I feel resentment, I can go, oh, hey, what is that? What happened there? Why do I feel resentment? Was I giving in order to receive? Was I not being actually generous with my actions? Or was I simply trying to engage in a tit for tat with someone who didn't know that that's what was going on? And if you haven't, gotten to this point yet, you may be miles ahead of me, but if this is new information for you, then this is going to change everything, because now I see resentment as a check engine light. It's sort of like, oh, hey, you were doing something a little screwy, and you need to look at what you were doing. You need to look at why you were doing what you were doing and see if you were attaching strings to your actions. Because if you were, then that's a warning sign that you are that you're sort of, how do I put this? It's like you're expecting other people to complete you, because you feel incomplete, you feel unworthy, you feel unlovable or something, and you need reassurance from other people to feel good about yourself. At least this is how I'm looking at it now. And by the way, if you want to read on this topic, the thing that got me going on this was No More Mr. Nice Guy. So check that out, because it's crazy, and in a good way. There's just so many ways in my life that I was giving in order to receive. And I thought I was being generous. I thought I was being a good husband, or I thought I was being a good friend, but in reality, I was putting a burden on those people that I was relating to. I was saying, love me, instead of giving out love from a place of abundance. Instead, it was coming from a place of inadequacy. So, to recap, that's how I see the topic of resentment. If I feel resentment, then I have to look at myself and go, why was I expecting something from that person? Did they know that thing was expected of them? Did they agree to that? And most likely, they had no idea, and even if they did, they might not have agreed to it. And so, that's how I look at it now. And, well, try it on. Just, the next time you feel resentment, go through the scenario in your head. Like, was I expecting them to do something for me? And did they know that? Were they in agreement? Were they on board? Because now, oh man, it feels so good to know that something like resentment can be solved by me. That's actually the coolest part about this whole thing, is that you can take it one of two ways. You can be like, you're telling me that when I'm resentful, it's my fault? Well, yeah, but that also, on the plus side, that means that you can solve it. And that's cool, because if it was the other way around, if it was the other person's fault and they had to solve it, well, shit, then your happiness would be up to them. You'd be beholden to them. You'd have to either beg, borrow, or steal, from them to get it to happen. But instead, it's totally up to you. Or in this case, up to me. I can look at it and I can, through my own introspection, I can solve the problem. So it's incredibly empowering, and what a wonderful way to solve a problem. It's like, oh yeah, no, I can do that. I don't even need you. Problem solved. So give it a shot, and those of you farther along on this process than I, please let me know. Do the thing in the comments and let me know how I can further my education on this topic, please. And in the meantime, I'll see you in the next one.